Hi everyone, so in today's video I'm going to be converting my stock resin bars onto those comfy bars. People tell me this is probably one of the best mods for RF900, and there's a few ways of going about it. You can actually go and buy a ready kit from ABM, and this is going to be bars, a clutch and brake lines and the actual yoke and the rest of the stuff, but that's about £260. That's a lot of money. What you also can do is you can buy a Bandit 1200 yoke, which is this here. This came out silver and I painted it black, and then you basically buy those rental bars and put it on your RF. So wish me good luck. I'm really hoping this is going to work. Supposedly the job isn't that difficult. There's just a few pitfalls you've got to be aware of, like for instance the brake lines and the clutch lines. Supposedly this is not going to work with stock ones, so you've got to have the braided ones, which are supposedly slightly longer. There's a few other things that need to be mentioned, which I'll do later during the actual job. So wish me good luck, fellas. As you can see, my top yoke has already been risen by about 4 centimeters, and I've done it by putting those spacers in between the bottom and top yoke, and that brought great results. It actually is a noticeable difference, but on those long distance journeys that's still not enough, because it's not only about raising the bars, it's also about bringing them closer to the rider, so you're not leaning that much on your wrists. So hopefully the setup with rental bars is going to solve the problem. So I'm going to start from loosening those 4 bolts holding the top yoke in place. So you're going to need 17 mil spanner to hold it at the bottom, and the ratchet to unscrew it at the top. Screw, first one's loose, now the second one. Cool, nice and easy. That's cool, that's loose. And the last one. Okay, they're loose. This is going to do for now. So the next step, we're going to have to loosen those 2 bolts here and those 2 here to be able to take off your brake fluid reservoirs and brake and clutch levers. And it seems like this is the 8 mil spanner. Yeah, that's the one. Cool, that's loose enough. I've already removed the bar ends, the actual weights from the ends of it. Now I'm going to have to unscrew that little screw over here, which will allow me to take the controls off, and the same thing on the left hand side as well. Here it is. So I think I'm going to have to remove the throttle cable from its housing just to get the whole thing off. Okay, so just by using this type of pick, you'll be able to wiggle out the cable from the actual throttle housing, and then you can just pop this right off. And that's the right hand side done. So now we move to the left hand side. Okay, so really hope you can see this. the actual controls housing is taken off, and now you've got this choke lever, and there's a choke cable attached to it there. So all you have to do is basically wiggle this out, which will allow you to take the whole thing off. There we go. As you can see, it's all nice and loose. Now, if you wanted to reuse the actual grips, you can simply slide them off like that. There wasn't too much glue over there holding it, so I don't think this would be too difficult to get it off, but I bought a new set of grips, so I'm just going to leave it there and take the whole thing off anyway. Okay, so here's what I've got done so far. Grips and bar ends removed, both control units or boxes, both from my right and left hand side, removed. So now I'm going to take off the brake fluid reservoir and clutch fluid reservoir, which will free up the levers as well, and then I'm just going to take off the top yoke completely. Okay, so next step, and I guess the last step of dismantling the whole thing, would be taking the top yoke off. So I already pre-loosened all 4 bolts, so this should come out pretty easily. So it's all loose, so I'm just going to take my bolts out together with the spacers. Okay, we've got the first one here. Second. I'll basically just lift it all off. Okay, something really important to mention now. You see, there's 2 ways to go about this conversion. You can go the easy way, which would be basically removing those actual bar holders or bar raisers from this top yoke bandit and putting it there, and that's basically job done. But what I'm trying to achieve, I'm trying to actually install the whole top yoke on top of that, which would look slightly neater. Alright, so now time to remove the bottom yoke. And to get that done, you've got to loosen this bolt here and the same bolt on the opposite side, which is there. That's going to be your 12mm socket. Luckily those weren't too tight, so it comes out pretty easily. That's great. And then you have to remove that bolt here, which is 22mm, and I haven't got a socket, so I'm just going to go with this massive spanner. I've already pre-loosened it, so it comes out really nicely and easily. Okay, there's going to be a washer on top of that. Yeah, that's cool. And these 2 as well. Excellent. Now hopefully this will now come out without too much of a pain. And actually it is. Come on. Okay, there we go.
Right guys, this is where this job gets a bit complicated. What you see on this picture is a stock RF900 bottom yoke which is upside down. This is the one I've just taken off. As you can see in the middle of it, there's going to be the ignition barrel, which is the bit to which you actually put your ignition key to start your motorcycle. This is secured to this bottom yoke by 2 bolts, which are covered by security caps. So the only way you can separate the ignition barrel from the actual yoke is drilling through those caps to free up the bolts. If you've decided not to use Bandit 1200 top yoke and you're basically putting the stock Bandit 1200 bar razors in the bottom yoke of RF900, you can skip this step. You don't have to mess around with drilling through. But if somehow you want your RF900 to have a very neat looking top yoke from Bandit 1200, you will have to separate the ignition barrel from its bottom yoke, because then you can put it in the Bandit 1200 yoke, which will land on top of your forks. Separating the ignition switch from the bottom yoke is a bit of a job and can be considered a pain in the ass, but it actually gives you a better overall look once you finish with Bandit 1200 top yoke, so I think it's worth it.
A few moments later.
Okay folks, so as you can see the ignition switch is now freed up, same as the bottom yoke, and what I basically did, I drilled through those bolts holding it. Now what's really imperative here, you really want to get into exact middle of those bolts when you're drilling it, because if you go sideways like I did, look at this, you see, this is going to be a pain in the ass to remove them then. So this is a little tip, you need to be really spot on with getting straight onto that middle of the bolt. Okay, so here's another situation to tackle. So this is your Bandit's top yoke upside down. And see those bolts here? Those go into those holes here, and those actually hold your ignition switch in place. So the ignition switch goes in like this. Alright, that's how it's going to look on your motorcycle. And from the bottom, you've got to secure it by using those bolts, okay, and putting them through here and screwing them in effectively into here, like this. Now the trouble is that these two holes here are not big enough to accommodate those bolts, so there's going to be another little drilling job. But this is going to be really easy because that's very soft. That's not actually steel. So this should take literally a few seconds and we should be done with it. Now as you can see, the bolt can go through really nicely. There we go. Alright, let's put this ignition switch in there. Obviously this is going to go in like that. Alright. First bolt in. Just so it grabs. And the second one. You know, ideally you would want to do it with somebody else to give you a hand, but it's not always possible. Okay folks, so let's put the yoke back on the forks. It simply slides on like that. It finally starts to resemble a motorcycle. Now here's the deal. On Suzuki RF900 Facebook forum there is a lovely document that somebody created for this particular job, and what the chap says is that you've got to have this custom made little bush that then you put in here. And he said do not try to ride it without that, so I'm gonna trust his experience. The dimensions for this particular bush is what you can now see on the screen. This cost me £4 and you can get it on eBay. There's plenty of people out there who do custom bushes, so you just simply send them an eBay message saying what dimensions you want and they'll do it for you. Alright. So just to hammer it in, I'm going to use this socket extension. There we go. the bush is all in, nice and flat. So now it's time to put the bolt back on. There's a bit of a resistance. Peeps, unfortunately I haven't got a 22mm socket, so I'm going to have to do it the ridiculous way. It's going to take a while, but it will be eventually done. So now it's time for those two here, just to clamp it down. Okay, if you ask me what is the specific torque settings for that, I don't actually know now, but you'll probably see it on the screen. Okay, so putting those on, I'm not going to actually properly torque it up right now because most likely I'm going to have to fiddle with it a few times to find the best position for cables and controls. So at the moment, for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it fairly tight so it doesn't move, which will allow me working on it. So that's what it looks like, and it looks pretty cool to me at least. Alright, so as you can see, I'm putting everything back in place, and let me tell you, I thought the drilling of the yoke was the tough part. Let me just tell you, routing the cables through that area around the steering was the biggest pain in the ass I've ever experienced in my entire life working on any motorcycle. So that's just to let you know what you're going to be dealing with. Okay, I'm going to use the new ones anyway, but it's just for demonstration of how it all looks. And now we've got this choke cable here, which is all loose at the moment. So here we've got this little securing plate and the bolt. It just goes through that. Screw it back on. Okay, and that's in place. Okay, so that bolt goes through it. Yeah, it's going to be tightened, but at the moment I'll just leave it as it is. So let's have a look what we've got. Okay folks, so time to sum it up. The job is done. What a pain in the ass that was. Anyway, it looks pretty good. It actually looks like it was designed to look like that. I'm really happy with that. As you can see, I still have my original grips, which I'm going to throw away soon because I've just ordered new ones on eBay with bar ends on it, because now obviously our original bars wouldn't fit there. The most difficult part of the job was basically routing the cables, because that was just a pain in the ass. As you can see at the moment, it's all loose and it looks pretty ugly, but I'm going to get it sorted. It's just I've got no time and energy for it today. Yeah, it seems to be all working. You're going to have to place your brake lever and clutch lever at certain angle. Basically push it slightly downwards, because then the full movement left and right will be available. Also, a little tip for you: if you go for rental bars, go for low bars. I went for medium bars, hoping this is going to give me a bit more comfort, and perhaps it will, but it's just a pain in the ass to get all the controls and reservoirs installed on it, because it's a tad higher, so then you're going to be hitting this plastic, I don't know, called fairing. The total cost of the job, the bars cost me 36 quid, obviously brand new. The top yoke for the Bandit 1200 I bought it used. It actually came silver and I painted it black, which came out really nicely. That cost me £30. And obviously grips, which will cost you about 10 quid as well. So that's it, pretty cheap. When you compare it to ABM bars, that's a no-brainer. Thanks guys, till next time.